Hi everyone. Yes, I'm Tom. I work for TKX Impact. We help councils and communities to try and come together to solve problems and build better public services. I've been really inspired by today, the sort of innovation and creativity that people who have led workshops have shown, and they're kind of painting that picture of what a more democratic future would look like. I'm also inspired by the determination and courage of everyone who's participated as well, and this idea that we're all kind of willing to play our part in rewriting the rules and setting a future story. And there have been so many great ideas and examples of people and places that are already doing stuff differently. So I'm here to talk about democracy in surprising new places. I've only got 5 minutes, so I thought it best to maybe focus on one surprisingly place. And there's so much going on that I could have spoken about. So I was thinking about doing something about Chorlton in Lancashire, which is a small village that basically bought all their stuff. They bought the shop, the pub, community centre, and they kind of run it all together. I could have spoken about a community housing scheme that I'm part of called Chapeltown Co-housing, where we basically turned some derelict land into some permanently affordable homes that are intentionally allocated according to local diversity needs and a mix of social incomes. I could have spoken about Richer Sounds, the retailer that has voluntarily basically given up control to its 500 odd employees. But today I've decided to talk about something going on right now that's really exciting to me, which is the world's largest, and I think the largest ever in history, listening and consultation exercise. Can anybody think of which radical, trailblazing, progressive, enterprising organisation is leading this? Any guesses?
Is it the Techopath thing? The thing about mapping the paths?
It's not the thing about mapping the paths, but that does sound really interesting. Any other guesses or suggestions? It's not Michael Gove, it's not Tesco. It's not the CBI.
EU.
It's not even the EU. It is the Roman Catholic Church. Right. Now, stay with me because I'm not joking. I'm absolutely genuine in this example, right? So, last year, stay with me, Pope Francis launched the 2-year global campaign to hear from Catholics worldwide. Okay, so literally 1 billion people, billion with a B, have been invited to reflect on and discuss at local, national, regional level lots of things about their church, its mission, its problems, and what needs to change about it. And so from church halls right here in Huddersfield to gatherings of indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest, people have been getting together, holding meetings, articulating their hopes and concerns, and making plans for how they're going to take action locally on what they've discussed. And these photos are a glimpse of what it looks like right now in West Yorkshire, where these meetings have been taking place over the last couple of months. In a 2 to 3 month period, in this area where we're standing, the local Diocese of Leeds trained 85 people as volunteer facilitators. Those 85 people helped run 75 local meetings in parishes around West Yorkshire. Those meetings were attended by 1,100 people aged between 15 and 85 years old. And at the same time as those meetings, 3,500 people aged between 11 and 85 years old provided online and written submissions to this exercise. So that is one region. This is what's happening in West Yorkshire. I was lucky enough to attend some of these meetings and see the training that the facilitators got. And this is being repeated in different ways, often creatively, around the world. And so on this slide, you can see a few examples of how that's been done. On the left, you can see Teo and Kerry, who are 2 Italian animated characters, a cartoon that's been made to enable children to understand what their voice is and how they can contribute towards this discussion. You can see in the middle a menu that is used to host intergenerational meals in France, where people are getting together to have these conversations. And on the top left, you can see a board game where people go around the squares and answer questions about what's going on in their community, in their church, what they want to change, etc. Now, you don't have to know anything about the Catholic Church or even care much for the Catholic Church as an institution to see that some interesting things are going on here. And anyone that's interested in democracy, I would argue, should be paying attention to how this process goes. And there are a few key lessons and interesting thoughts that I thought I'd leave you with, inspired by what I've seen going on right now and what's set to continue until 2023. The first is that even in the most hierarchical institutions or spaces or places where people aren't used to having much of a say, the seeds of democracy still exist, and we just need to tend to them. There's a huge appetite for more meaningful influence over the stuff that matters to us, and that, you know, that never goes away completely. So if you're working in a tough spot, don't be afraid to try something new, to take a risk. You never know where it potentially can go. The second thing, democracy itself doesn't necessarily begin and end with government, not even local government. Business, community organizations, civil society, families are all spaces where it's possible to connect with that kind of, that deep role and desire to have to relate to each other and to step into the role that we're all born into of being active citizens who can all shape and change things based on our own ideas and our own talents. And the third lesson is that it doesn't always have to be called democracy. In fact, sometimes it might be better to not call it that or locate it in and around that word. I love democracy. I will bang on about it all the time to people around me. But it's worth recognizing that there are other ways of talking about democracy that resonate more deeply with people's culture or values or faith or sense of place. In the case of the Catholic Church, it's this slightly strange word called synod, which I don't have much time to get into, and the work of the Holy Spirit. That's what works in that context. In my Nigerian family, I wouldn't talk about democracy. I talk about maintaining the traditions of the Igbo tribe, which we're part of, who historically rejected monarchy and organized society based on essentially village meetings where everybody had a say and we elected and appointed kind of elders who would look after things and have formal powers, but not the right to kind of rule and determine everything outside the meeting. For others, as we've heard today, it's about embodying the character and the spirit of 18th century pilots. You know, it doesn't really matter what it is. The point is that there's so much material in our culture and our heritage that brings democracy to life. And so I think it's really important that as much as possible, we can find ways to lean into that and draw on it rather than trying to be bland or uniform in our bid to reach people. So democracy in a very surprising new place, the Catholic Church, but I think it speaks to lots of potential that's going on around the country and around the world for reviving democracy still. Thanks.